Hello everyone and welcome to Core ALM Solution Manager workshop on business process operations. Our workshop today will show you how to reduce the downtime and monitor your SAP applications anywhere with SAP Solution Manager 7.2 application operations. There will be a live product demo at the end of today's presentation. If this is your first time attending, we run these workshops for the SAP community, and if you're a regular, we really thank you for attending. I'd like to add that we run these workshops to give back to the SAP community as that's part of our company culture. As such, we make this workshop slightly interactive with polls to get feedback, and then we can learn how we can make it better for future webinars. We have a few poll questions throughout the webinar, so your participation is appreciated. All right, moving on with the agenda. We will do an intro about us and then a quick overview of Solution Manager 7.2 for those new to the platform. We will then proceed on to our main topic on technical monitoring, followed by a live demo. We will finish the workshop with a Q&A. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's workshop. You can submit a question by typing your question in the questions pane in the control panel on the GoToWebinars interface. Right, so on to a little bit about us. We are a dedicated team of experts focused on digital transformation within the SAP ecosystem and have a strong team of former SAP Solution Manager practice leads. We are a recognized leader with a proven track record to deliver ALM solutions and have been driving the adoption of SAP Solution Manager within the SAP community. We have worked with many SAP clients like Apple, Microsoft, Nike, Harley-Davidson, and many others, and have been trusted by them to deliver results. Our main expertise is in digital transformation lifecycle and SAP Solution Manager. We cover all aspects of Solution Manager platform, and here are some of the services and products that we offer. As you can see, we offer a holistic approach to the application lifecycle management within the SAP ecosystem. We have the resources to deliver services in managing your application lifecycle, and with the push to HANA, we also help companies with HANA conversions and upgrades. And here are some of our awards and certification. We are a SAP partner and SAP certified and run SAP implementations. Finally, I'd like to introduce today's presenter. I have Donik Moladimi, a senior SAP Solution Manager and ALM practice lead and experienced consultant with Core ALM. With that being said, he will give you an introduction to Solution Manager 7.2, and I'll hand it over to him now.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, great, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, I want to apologize in advance. I do have a little bit of a sore throat this morning, so hopefully it won't be too disruptive. What we're noticing is that quite a few customers are not familiar with Solution Manager 7.2, its availability, and more importantly, about the fact that standard support for Solution Manager 7.1 for the current version or the last version ends at the end of 2017. So we thought it'd be important to share with all of you that some of the things from a logistics perspective, some of the things that are ending in terms of support, and then give you a brief introduction into 7.2. So 7.2 is really the first release that leverages SAP HANA and takes advantage of it. All the previous versions could run on HANA, but they were not taking advantage of what HANA provides. So with 7.2, you will be able to deploy that on HANA and taking advantage of things like embedded search and memory computing and whatnot. So the adoption of SAP HANA for Solman follows the SAP HANA transition standards. So what's most important is that all customers with a valid SAP maintenance agreement are entitled to run Solution Manager on HANA at no additional cost. So you wouldn't have to incur any additional cost to migrate the Solution Manager application to HANA. Obviously, if you're an existing SAP customer or support customer. So we'll talk about why SAP or at least some of the advantages and the disadvantages of going this route. But mainly is that, at least from SAP's viewpoint, is that a lot of the customers, if not all, will be migrating to HANA sooner or later in terms of the business suite applications. So they feel that HANA is everywhere anyway. So here's an option really with no additional cost for you to adopt. It's also a good gateway. What we're noticing with our customers is that they are choosing to deploy Solution Manager on HANA as the first application on this platform for reasons of getting the team and experience to maintain, to operate, to troubleshoot the HANA database, and so kind of get the experience before it's deployed to other applications. The other one, obviously, it's the data savings from a database license perspective, since you're already paying for the HANA license with the maintenance, and then other factors like speeding up due to the handling of the data in memory. Take advantage of some of those, and then the new IT management features, and we'll talk about some of those as we move along during today's presentation. So when we look at the roadmap, it's really, like I mentioned, there are customers out there that are still not aware of the fact that Solution Manager 7.1, the standard support for it, will end at the end of 2017. This really comes from the fact that NetWeaver Java 7.02 applications reached the end of life at the end of 2017. That being said, Solution Manager is a dual stack system, at least in 7.1, and its Java instance is on NetWeaver 7.02, and that's why the Solution Manager is also impacted. So if you do have other applications out there running on version 7.02, it might not be a bad idea to review and start planning for the upgrade if you haven't already done so. So Solution Manager 7.2 has been out for a while now, since the ramp-up days, and then it's been general availability since the middle of last year. And the current version is support pack. So the current version is 7.2 support pack 06. So before we proceed forward, we'd just like to get an understanding of whether you've upgraded to Solution Manager 7.2 already or not. So if you don't mind, just take a second to reply to the poll question, and then we'll review the numbers as to where everyone is on today's call. Okay, so as you can see there on the screen, you can see the number of attendees that have upgraded to Solution Manager 7.2 already. It looks like the majority have not yet, or maybe there are plans to do by the end of the year. This is a popular time for upgrade. There are, since there's such a large number, and if you're in planning stages, we're here to help if you have any additional questions, but there are some specifics with regard to the upgrade, specifically with the content activation piece. Would be more than happy to help you if you have any questions or any interest in partnering with somebody to get this deployed. We've been doing this all the time throughout the year, with very quick turnaround time, so we'd be more than happy to share our experiences with you and see how we can help you. Okay, as we move forward, so what's important about 7.2 is that SAP has revamped the user interface completely. As you probably are aware, with the older releases, a lot of the customers or users were really not very pleased with so many things going on in Solution Manager as far as how do you get to the applications, how you launch, and technical dependencies on different browsers, different flash technologies. And SAP realized that, and with customer feedback, for 7.2, they've completely revamped the user interface. So they've introduced the Fiori Launchpad. So if you have other applications in your environment, as for HANA and whatnot, you are familiar with the Fiori Launchpad concept, so you can easily integrate and make Solution Manager functionalities available on your master Fiori system, or Solution Manager comes with its own gateway and its own capability to handle the Fiori Launchpad. And we'll take a look at that during today's session. To this point, pretty much all the functionalities have migrated to the Fiori and the SAP UI5. This really eliminates the need for different Flash technology, different browser dependencies, versions. Most of those have been eliminated, and it has been customers have been very pleased with this step forward that SAP has taken. The other piece is the embedded search in Fiori. So what enables you to do is really search for content, keywords across all areas of Solution Manager. So if you're using change management, if you're using test management, technical monitoring, any of the keywords that you might be interested in, you can search for those and get the results. In the non-HANA database versions, you do require Trex as a separate a Trex engine to help you with the searching. However, with the HANA, the embedded search is included with HANA, so really eliminates the need for Trex or T-Rex. And it really helps you even search contents within documentation that you might have in Solution Manager. So pretty much all the areas it covers in Solution Manager. As we mentioned, the goal was to improve user experience continuously. You have the Fiori Launchpad, web-based, and I also failed to mention that besides some very, very technical steps that you would require to use SAP GUI, 95% or higher of 95+% of functionality is all available through the web browser now. So it's much easier for end users to consume and for you to deploy the functionalities and the tools that are within Solution Manager. So the main topic of today was the technical monitoring in 7.2. So what's important is that there are many tools out there, for providing technical monitoring perspective. So you have the operating system tools, you have the database tools, you might have SAP tools, but really when you look at it from a holistic perspective, Solution Manager does provide customers with all the tools to monitor all the layers. So you can monitor the database, the operating system, and so forth. So the idea is for you to be able to not only monitor reactively, meaning a system goes down, URL is not available, you get an alert, but the idea is that you can monitor ahead of time or proactively and prevent issues from becoming or prevent these little warnings that you get from causing a major outage or bigger outages for your systems and your system availability. So when we take a look at it from a scope perspective, the scope of application operations really includes several different areas, which are listed here. So we have the system and application monitoring. So from a traditional, OSDB monitoring, application monitoring, there are multiple areas and different areas within each application that SAP monitors or Solution Manager can monitor. But also there are different ways to look at it. One is being the traditional system monitoring, user experience monitoring, which we'll talk about today. You have integration monitoring, so you can monitor your PI or PO instances and see how the messages are flowing, how the communication channels are working. You can also do the job monitoring. So pretty much like there are other job management tools. This is more monitoring of those jobs. So you can set dependencies and so many other parameters to monitor the job and get alerted. And then the HANA Business Intelligence monitoring. So we'll take a look at that from a business objects perspective as well, or BI monitoring. The other area is the root cause analysis and exception management. Is really as Solution Manager is cranking, as it's working, it's collecting data about all of your managed systems. or the systems in your environment, and sort of building those trends. So when you look at different as you're looking at data, you can go into each application and look at for performance data or some historical data, but they only go back so many days depending on your cleanup jobs. However, in Solution Manager, the data is aggregated and it's stored in the BW portion of Solution Manager and kept for longer duration. So you can kind of see trending, is it month end that issues are coming up, or quarter end, closing of the books, it's causing issues. So you can build those. And also, it's good to realize that SAP could leverage or would like to leverage Solution Manager data as they're helping with you with performance issues or figuring out what had happened with specific application. So having that data in Solution Manager is very, very useful for SAP as well. Now, once the data has been collected, we have the technical analytics and dashboards. As you'll notice today, that pretty much with this new design, each area comes with dashboards. So each area of monitoring, whereas before you had to go to the dashboard section, you had to go to the monitoring section. Now it's all kind of embedded in the same user interface, and we'll demonstrate that today. And then last but not least is the technical administration guided procedures. So what this is that you can build guided procedures for different things that happen in your environment. So you might have something that comes up often. So for example, archive logs fill up or specific file systems fill up. So you have a procedure in place. You can document that in Solution Manager and allow your support teams to go in there and kind of perform those checks in a series of steps. But also it gives you the opportunity to record those, to say, yep, step number 1 complete, 2, 3, 4 are complete, but then you have a record of that it occurred on this day, and these are the steps to remediate that problem. So you don't have documentation in multiple places. Different teams have different documentation. This way it's a central storage for all your operation guides and all the pieces around your SAP environment. So from a monitoring and alerting perspective, and I know there might be some questions, so I just want to remind you again that you'll be able to use the chat panel to send the questions in, and then we'll address those at the end of the session. So the idea is at the bottom you see different SAP and non-SAP applications. They would be connected to Solution Manager. Most of the time they are already connected. Because of other requirements or certain specific pieces are already in place, and those systems are connected to Solution Manager, and then we can just add on or turn on additional functionality as far as the monitoring. So as we mentioned on the left side, we have different monitoring tools available, and then once we capture that data, we can go ahead and generate alerts. You can keep those as alerts. You can create incidents. There's numerous things that you can do. You can integrate with third-party tools for your ticketing system, so you can send tickets to your ticket management tool, such as ServiceNow or Remedy. There are many others out there, so you can integrate with those, and so you can dispatch the alerts and handle them appropriately into your existing infrastructure without having to reinvent, how you handle these incidents. Over time, how we got to where we are today is really SAP introduced the local CCMS many years ago, and then kind of moved on to central CCMS, where it helped you monitor the ABAP and the Java applications, but with the latest and greatest technologies, really enables you to monitor end to end. So you can see there are different. From different perspectives, you have monitoring of all the system, from different applications, ABAP, Java, .NET, C, C++. The list goes on. There are different web engines that are available for you to monitor. You can monitor things in the cloud, as many of you are moving and consuming cloud-based applications. There are certain things that you can monitor in the cloud with different connectors. So it's vastly expanding, and it's changed quite a bit. The main idea here that we want to present as far as the monitoring is that SAP does deliver templates. So a lot of times we get asked, are there best practices, what we should monitor, what we shouldn't. So SAP has a set of templates that they deliver with specific metrics turned on, which SAP thinks, that most customers should monitor. However, that those templates or that glove doesn't always fit. However, SAP provides the opportunity for the customers to extend, so to copy those templates and to really perform different things. So as far as adjusting the target groups, for example, who gets notified, enabling and disabling of different metrics, because these templates come with a lot of metrics. So the idea is that you can turn on and off different metrics as you please. You can adjust the thresholds to meet your needs, and a lot of times we see that where production and non-production are monitored differently with different thresholds. So SAP provides that flexibility. And also during upgrades, anything custom that you create will not be overwritten. However, new metrics will be added, so your custom templates will be extended. However, the existing settings will not be overwritten. So that's really good as you go through the upgrades. So as we mentioned earlier, there's a seamless integration between monitoring, alerting, and reporting. And as you'll notice on the screenshot on the right there, there are different tabs, and we'll look at those in a little bit. But you can see that you have the overview, the interfaces, connections. So you have different areas of monitoring, but then on the far right, you have the analytics for those. So you don't have to go to a different section of Solution Manager to get to the dashboards, to get to the historical data about the specific object that you're monitoring. So from all the technology that's available, it's pretty much everything is covered, from availability, performance, exception, capacity, usage. And you can see on the right side different dashboards that are delivered, and then you can customize those. You can create your own version. We'll talk about those a little bit more. And different applications or different apps from a monitoring perspective, they're all available in UI5. As we mentioned, there's really no more dependencies as they were before in terms of browsers and different flash technology. So looking at the technical monitoring, in this case we're looking at user experience monitoring, but what you're going to notice is that from the Launchpad you're going to launch a specific area that you're interested in. And what you're going to notice across the top, you're going to see the different tabs as we mentioned. So those are just different perspectives of looking at that data. And then towards the end, you're going to have the different dashboards from an availability performance perspective, but those might change depending on the context. So different contexts, you will see different tabs across the board. On the upper right side, you will see the header items, which is the scope. So for example, you can select which systems you want to see. You can select the time frame. I want to see last 30 days, or I want to see just today's data or last 1 hour or whatnot. You can select that range that you want to see the data for. On the far right side, you're going to see the expandable pane bar for personalized settings. So there's a lot of personalization that you can do. You can configure the display. You can create your own dashboards or your own tab, and then you can drag different areas that you want to see in that. So really, it makes it easy for the end user to be able to make it more friendly for them to the way they see it fit. Also on the right side, we see the alert ticker, which kind of gives you, for whichever monitoring area you're in, you're going to see the alert ticker, kind of like the latest alerts that have been generated by the system, that have been identified. And then on the left side, you have the toolbar. We're going to take a look at those, like different views, different shortcuts to jump into either configuration of the metrics. So you don't have to really know which template it's located in, but you see a metric, you want to change its threshold, it gives you the opportunity to jump into that configuration area and make the adjustments as necessary. We were talking about customization, so in this case, there's a tab here called My Views, and really on My Views, you can see on the bottom right side there are different applets, if you will, that you can drag and drop them in your dashboard. And it's fairly easy to create new dashboards. You just go on personalization, create, you put the label, you drag what you want on that, you save it, and pretty much every time you log on, you will see that dashboard for that specific user. And here are the steps really to create it, change, the way you want to see the data and whatnot. Now, looking at the system monitoring perspective, there are different ways of looking at it. One of them is the overview, the system overview, which will give you a count of pretty much all the systems. So you're going to see across the top, there's a total of 138 systems in this case, 26 are red, 3 are green, 109 are unknown or maybe in the process of being configured. But what this does is really gives you the capability to look at this, the system ID, give you the overall status, but then also for each system, it gives you different categories. So you have the availability, performance, configuration, exceptions. So you can kind of see, for example, why is system FQ7 red? It could be just an exception, like too many short dumps within an hour. That's why the system is red. But however, the performance is good, availability is good. So it might be very specific to some bad job maybe running and failing or short dump for whatever reason. But at least it gives you an overview and say, for the most part it's okay, but the specific area might have issues. Now, switching the view a little bit, switching from an overview to a system overview or a system view, what we'll see is the same systems but arranged slightly different. And this kind of gives you the opportunity to hover over the systems, gives you some details, about the system, what kind it is. Again, gives you those different categories to see which area is impacted. And then on the upper right-hand corner of each box, you will see a number which represents the number of alerts for that specific application. So now, from here, we have the opportunity to jump into the alert inbox, review the alert itself, and decide to either send it to somebody or dispatch it to another team, or see, historically what's happened with that. You can click on the system. In this case, we're going to take a look at the system SNN. And then once you open the system, based on what's been configured, the hierarchy view on the left will be populated automatically. So you will see, again, how the system is made up of. So you have the server starting from the bottom. You have the hosts that they're running on, the instances that are available, the database instance, and then the system as a whole. What's important is that every time you click on one of these boxes, depending on which one, in this case they're all red, but if only one of them was red, if you click, the appropriate area on the right side will be highlighted and expanded. So then you can see, in this case, for example, number of free dialog work processes is too low. So, from here you can expand, you can see historically what has happened, and from there, and as I'll show you on the demo, you can jump in and make an adjustment. Say, well, this is not appropriate for our environment, so I need to change this setting. Now, the setting can be changed for a specific system, for a specific object. It can be made globally, so you change it for all the systems. So really, SAP gives you the capability to have a lot of control over what happens with each of these metrics. You're on the HANA journey. What's important to realize that SAP is focusing a lot and is dedicating a lot of resources and effort to develop content around HANA databases. So every time a new release comes out from a HANA perspective, SAP delivers also the templates for Solution Manager, or the content for Solution Manager, so you can deploy it on Solution Manager, so that way you are kept up to speed versus some other tools. Maybe they are a few ones behind because SAP releases. They have to figure it out how to monitor those new functionalities and then provide those updates. So in this case, they're done hand in hand. And of course, you can get in very complicated HANA setups, with secondary, primary cluster, the containers. Pretty much anything around HANA can be monitored. The other thing is that between the secondary and primary cluster, if you do have a failover, that'll be sensed by Solution Manager, and the reconfiguration will be done automatically to point to the correct node and start reporting from that node, whichever one is active at that time. From a process integration monitoring perspective, we're talking about PI or PO monitoring. It's really the capability of Solman to connect to monitor the components of a PI and PO. So if things like is the SLD engine available? Are business systems available? Is the proxy channels, are they all available? Looking at all the components, looking at all the bad jobs that need to be running in the managed system. It looks at the channels, communication channels, the current state, failure rates, and then you can generate alerts on those. And then you have the messages and the message flows. So you can see how many messages are being processed, how many are in error state, waiting to be processed. So really you get all that information in a centralized location, and from there you can go ahead and alert on those. And what I just spoke, so we're just going through different channels, different components, and then last but not least here we have the messages, and we can see messages that have been processed, and you can click on specific integration engine, and you can see over time some of the trending that has been collected in Solution Manager. The other area that's important is the interface and connection monitoring. So a lot of times when we talk about the interfaces, we think of PI, but a lot of times you have interfaces between two systems via RFC, iDocs. You might have different technologies, maybe file-based interface, if you want to call it. So you have a system dropping a file somewhere and another system picking it up. So that's done through interface and connection monitoring. So there are different technologies that you can monitor, and we'll look at that during the demo. But there are certain things that you cannot do with other applications, but this gives you the opportunity to do the URL check, web services, different files, monitoring for files, looking for keywords in the file, the age of the file. So there's a lot of properties that you can monitor. This is the topology of the graphical representation. So you can create scenarios, and then each scenario you tie the systems together, and then you tie the technology. So as you can see here, we have a gateway monitor, a web service monitor, an HTTP monitor, and then from this ABAP system to a Java, it's an RFC connection. So you can kind of monitor those and build your own scenarios for each team or for business areas, and this way you kind of get a bigger view rather than just looking at systems individually, because a lot of times a system might be available, but it might not be functioning, right? So you do a ping, it responds, yep, but you cannot always rely on that. So this takes it a little bit further to say that, okay, I'm going to monitor for specific things. I'm going to look for URLs and specific services to see if they are actually available. And here we're looking at interface channels. There are different technology, as I mentioned. And of course, the analytics portion where you can see the performance or the trending, and go back in time and see how how it's been trending and how things are doing. And then from a performance perspective, so you check whether things are on or off, but also you can set thresholds to kind of see how they're responding within the given time frame that you're interested in. Now, to take things a little bit further, so we can do standalone monitoring. Solution Manager can do, different technologies, as we mentioned, the RFCs. However, that still doesn't give you the full picture. Now, from a high-level perspective, that's where user experience monitoring comes in. It's another functionality that's included with Solman, which allows you to basically record a script and play it back. But you can also do that playback from different locations back to your application. So if you're a global company with users in multiple locations, you have the capability of deploying those robots and deploying the scripts to the robot, and they replay that script from different locations, and then they report back to Solution Manager. So the good thing here is that you can kind of realize if you have the same process, or end users are going through the same process, creating sales order or purchase requisition, whatever it might be, but they might be going from different parts of the world. This way you can kind of see and monitor how they are experiencing that application. Because there could be a lot of network latency. So what's important here is that you will gain insight. For example, if somebody calls from different part of the country and says, oh, SAP is slow, I cannot do so and so. With this application, you can realize, you can look at it, if the application, as intended, it should have already notified you that some specific location is having issues. But when you go into that application, you can realize that, okay, the users close to the data center are accessing the application just fine, even though they're external users. External meaning not located physically in the data center. But somebody across the globe is having issues. So that could kind of tell you that, okay, for the most part, my application is okay, but the connectivity to it could be an issue. And we'll take a look at it, how this application can really help you dive into those. As we take a look at the user experience monitoring, we have the overview. So on the left side, we have different scripts that we have recorded. And across the top, you will have different regions and the robots. So in this case, you have EMEA, APJ, something that, unspecified region. So what you see is there are robots across the board, and then you have scripts. So you might only want to deploy a specific script only on these two locations. So you have full control of which scripts run where. And it's very easy to manipulate them, to turn them on and off, where you want the metrics and whatnot to come from. So it gives you that visibility. And then at the end, you get an overall SLA report. So it gives you over time, over a specific amount of time, you have visibility monitoring and performance monitoring. You can see exactly how long it took for it to run, and you can kind of see the areas that you implement. So we'll take a look at that during the from a monitoring. That's another angle of looking at it. It gives the capability to monitor the channel systems, the business, say, okay, some jobs in ERP and data services of a business object, where we can, where we build that scenario and you kind of group them together, and then you say, okay, if any of these jobs fails, then I want to be alerted, and then there might be another scenario where you can set up dependencies. Say if job A doesn't run, my process will stop. So then you'll get alerts because you have you set up the dependencies between them. So yeah, there's a lot of monitoring for jobs, workflow branches. If you a centralized tool where you can pretty much monitor all these on your own. Okay. To take a look at the live system. My Windows timed out in the interest of time. I will head once ahead of time. So, taking a look at the series onset, if you haven't seen it, it's really driven by security rules. In this case, I'm going to show you out there, but I don't always respond. We have pretty much all the Solution Manager, and system application, which will launch different capabilities. So I can do for example, the system monitoring, which will open a new tab, as you see up here. User experience monitoring. I can do interface monitoring, process integration, and whatnot. It's important to realize that there are also mobile optimized apps that are available, which are mobile friendly. So you could either go directly with the URL, or you can launch the the mobile app and kind of formats everything better to be consumed in the mobile device. The other thing that I mentioned earlier, the search ability. So in this case, I'm just going to search for the word test. I know we have a lot of test things, meaning from test management to test change requests and whatnot. But here you have all, and then it's categorized. There change requests, there's solution documentation, different applications that the word test appears in. So it could be a transaction, could be a ticket, that's a management piece, but really, or it could be text within a program, within a document. So it's really cool and so we can select, by different attributes. We can search in this case, we're choosing to select everything. As we mentioned, you can have, you can see there are different systems, the overview, and on the far right side, we can see the alert ticker. Once we start diving in deeper, we switch the view. If you recall, we can see what type of system it is. In this case, a database or an ABAP system and whatnot, and then the alerts, the corresponding alerts. So in this case, we're going to launch the 872, dive in a little bit deeper into it, and we're going to see the tree where we see the rating for each specific area. So in this case, if I click on the host will be highlighted and expanded. And as I dive in deeper, I'm going to see that, okay, the file system area has a yellow in it. And as we go deeper, we see that file system free, so something is filling up. And this is an area where you really, hopefully, you catch things before they become red and before they become problematic. But it looks like /boot has filled up. We got to take a look at it, either expand it or clean up whatever doesn't need to be on there. But you can see there's different file systems. You can add filters. You can exclude file systems that you don't want to monitor, that you don't care about. So there's a lot of flexibility. Likewise, for each area, for each layer, there are metrics for host, for databases, for instance, central instances, ASCS, SCS, I mean, pretty much anything that you want to. It's also important that you don't have to use a template. So if your OS monitoring is being done by another team and you don't care about the OS, you can completely exclude this from monitoring. Nothing will be reported, monitored at the host layer or at the database layer. If you only care about SAP and you want to get the SAP alert, you can also choose to turn on only that monitoring. And it's very easy to do, to turn them on and off once they're deployed. But as we take a look at it from a SAP perspective, there are different categories. There's different areas from availability perspective, different URLs, services that are checked from performance perspective. And we don't have everything enabled here, but you can see that there's different areas that are monitored. Excuse me. From user load to batch resources, things that are really going to impact the availability or the performance of your system. And as you dig in deeper and deeper, and you're going to get to the point where you're going to get a graph and kind of historical data. In this case, not much has changed from that perspective. But if you need to find out a little bit more about the specific area, you can click on each of the metrics. You can see what the current thresholds are, and a little bit of description of what it is. And you can go into more documentation, or you can change the configuration or the data collection. So you can change the frequency that you collect, you can change the thresholds, all from within this tool. It will take you to the correct configuration area. Okay, and this is obviously for ABAP, Java, SAP, non-SAP systems. There's a lot that you can do, and it's not only SAP-centric. But on the SAP side, it does get pretty deep on getting a visibility into SAP internals. The interface monitoring, I know we're getting short on time, so I want to show you the interface monitoring. So in this case, we have a couple of scenarios. We have the self-monitoring scenario and the prod interface monitoring scenario. So once we click on the prod interface monitoring scenario, we're going to see here that we have, as we mentioned, different technologies. So for example, we've set up a scenario with ADP. You're looking for a file, you're monitoring a file, web service, an RFC, on the system itself, you're checking for iDocs, HTTP calls, but this really helps you build the process the way it's set up in your system. So the way the data flows and all types of technologies technologies and connectivity points you can monitor between those systems. So this is very useful, especially if you're doing business process monitoring as well. You can interconnect with BPMon and plug these steps into your business process monitoring from that perspective as well. And again, there are different dashboards. I don't think any of them have data right now. We just upgraded, so but you should be able to see data for different areas where you have the graphs over time. User experience monitoring, switching gears a little bit, is as we mentioned, there's a script that you record and you deploy it to a location. So in this case, if we go back to the home screen, what we're going to see is we have two scripts, so HTTP-based script and SAP GUI script. So you can record either or. And then we have the different geographical locations where the agents are running. So in this case, we have the U.S. locations, the overseas locations, and different cities. And you can get pretty granular here. You can break it down even further. It's almost like Excel that you can add locations and groupings, the logical grouping. To the system, this doesn't really matter how you group these. It's more from a presentation and the end user perspective. But what we have is we have a GUI script and HTTP basis or HTTP script. And once we take a look at that from a different angle, what we're going to see is we're going to see the scenarios, the overall rating. We're going to see by location, a breakdown by location, performance over time, and the status, so such as availability over time. And then you get in, it's like, okay, what are these scripts? What do they do? So once we switch to the scenario view, we can go to the basis perspective, and we can kind of see, okay, there's the basis script. It's running on this host, multiple executions, but one of them was yellow. So what changed? What was different that time? Maybe it'll get red at some point, but at least what you can do is you can expand and look at the steps that were taken. So this script says, open the connection, log on to the system. Again, this is the H728, the basis, this is SAP GUI. So we resized, during recording, we resized the pane. Anyway, multiple transaction codes were executed, and then the session was closed. This could be logging in, looking for an order, pulling up a material master, digging in deeper, pulling up a plan. And what this does is does a really good kicking of the tires on the system, meaning, can I read from the database? How fast is the material coming back? How long does the query run? And for each of these, you get the response recording. And in this case, we can see that the application is working fine. However, our logon procedure took a little bit longer this one time. If this continues to be a problem, you can look at the logon. Maybe there's some LDAP authentication that's taking a long time. So everything might be fine with SAP, but just getting into it, it's there's something that's getting in the way. You can also, once you see a problem in a specific area, and I'm not in the right screen, but what you can do is you can run the scenario with trace. So you can enable a trace, take that, it'll upload to Solution Manager, and then go in and get a breakdown of the network time, the DB time, the CPU time, and really get a breakdown of that one run. So you can get a lot more details about it than you do from this screen. But at least this is a good starting point to point you there. Now, as we mentioned, you can change these thresholds anytime you need to. Very easy to do. And then you get the reporting of by location. So let's look at this is the performance over time. We can switch the time here on the calendar, the time frame selection, or we go and look at the pie chart and kind of figure out, what percentage is complete, from an SLA perspective. Where did we have, poor performance, connection problem? Now, this is just a demo environment. We just set up some scenarios, but this list can get pretty extensive and give you a lot of visibility and in-depth visibility of what's actually going on in those transactions. Okay, so that's what I was planning to show today as far as the from a live demo perspective. So let's go back to the presentation, and we have another poll, and we understand there's a lot of functionalities in Solution Manager. Some of the more popular ones were displayed on the screen there. We do do a lot of webinars, and we're planning our new session. So based on your responses, we'll also be be using those results to kind of prioritize the order of the areas for us to cover, or if you need any, if you'd like an individual demo or more personalized demo for each of those areas, please respond on the poll portion, or you don't have to respond at all. So you can just take a minute. I really appreciate it. Okay, thank you for your responses. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open the bridge to a few questions. Hopefully we have time to address all of them. Is there any? So go ahead, Ivan.
Yep. Thank you, Donik. So as mentioned, we're now going to begin answering the questions submitted during today's presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel. So our first question is from Joyce. Her question is, can we monitor non-SAP web applications?
Yes, yeah, very good question. So yeah, as we mentioned, the SAP from a traditional monitoring perspective, you can monitor, from an OS perspective, you can monitor different web servers. There are .NET applications. However, if you recall from a user experience monitoring, really any web-based application you can monitor through the HTTP interface. So you can go in, record pretty much any settings. We had a customer ask us, can we see how fast Facebook is working in our office? So they were able to do that, to record a script and just go through several steps. So yeah, absolutely. To a certain extent, you can pretty much monitor all of the applications, or at least web-based applications that are out there. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yep. Let me know if you have a follow-up question, Joyce. So a question from Kartik. Can the monitoring apps be used on mobile devices?
Yes, good question. So yeah, obviously connectivity it's one thing, and every company has to deal with. But as long as you can get to the Solution Manager instance with your application, there are different ways. So one thing you can do is using a URL directly to get to the monitoring app. Another one is to use the mobile apps, the mobile optimized apps that give you better visibility. Or there are applications in the store for the type of operating system you use that SAP has developed that connect directly to the backend system, and you'll be able to pull the data. So yeah, the answer is yes, you will be able to view this on a mobile device.
All right, sounds good. I hope that answers your question, Kartik. I have a question from Edwin. How often is the information from systems received or refresh that is from monitoring?
So there's a couple of things. So, excuse me. So the data collection, it's going to depend. Solution Manager is going to select the data at some preset interval. Excuse me, just a second. I apologize. So each metric on the template will have different data collection timing, but also the screen is refreshed at different intervals. And let me switch back to the demo. And you can see the last refresh, so you can go as granular as 15 seconds, and in this case up to 10 minutes to allow the screen to refresh. But the data on the screen is, as far as each metric, it really depends on the template how often, there are metrics that are collected every 10 seconds, there are metrics that are collected every minute, every 5 minutes, and so on. But the screen itself, these are the intervals that can be refreshed. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, so I do have a follow-up question from him, but I do have to get through the other questions first. So I have a question from Serini. It's on Solution Manager 7.2 search functionality. Is tracks required for 7.2 Solution Manager without HANA?
In either scenario, in either database, the search functionality is required for some specific areas. So documentation, change management, testing would require the search functionality being available to build your end-to-end scenarios. Now, in a traditional database, non-HANA database, let's say, you do require tracks to run as a separate engine. In the case of HANA, the embedded search capabilities of HANA would provide that capability, so you don't have to have a standalone tracks engine. You can still configure one, but you don't need to. Hopefully that answers your question. And just following up on that, so for technical monitoring, no, you would not need the search capability. Obviously, you couldn't search the alerts and tickets at the speed and the detail level that you would with tracks.
You're welcome, Serini. Okay, so just to answer his question. So I have another question from Sabu Rao. Able to upgrade existing BPMon dashboards from 7.1 to, Solution 7.1 to 7.2?
So dashboards, I'm assuming they're standard. Anything that is standard, yes, will be upgraded. All the data, the extractors, pretty much everything will be converted. However, BPMon is one area that's been impacted more than the technical monitoring during the upgrade perspective, so there will be some impact. However, those dashboards should migrate. For anything that's custom, obviously I couldn't speak to without understanding a little bit better, how they develop, what technology and whatnot.
Okay, Sapura, if you have a follow-up question, you could ask. I have a question here from Donald. Can we create our own dashboards for specific teams?
Yes, that's a good question. Yeah, so there's different ways that you can do. You can create different scenarios for each team. So a scenario for BW team, for example, for CRM team, and then you can create a dashboard just for that specific team. There's a whole section as far as Solution Manager. It's called the Focused Solutions, the Focused Insight. That really allows the end users to pretty much design any dashboards, anything they want, a lot of flexibility. But the data obviously would have to be collected first and available in the Solution Manager.
Okay, hope that answers your question, Donald. So we're coming to the top of the hour, but I do see some questions that we still need to follow up on. We'll take these questions offline. Donald will answer your questions through email. So thank you again, Donik, and thank you again, everyone, for attending today's webinar. We have another poll question. If you'd like to answer this, is that if you like our assistance and with a Solution Manager project that you might have, you can view our next webinars at corealm.com/webinars. We do have another series coming up. We really appreciate your presence here today, and if you have any other questions, please contact us. You will also receive a follow-up email shortly with a link to view today's recording. On behalf of everyone here at Core ALM and Donik, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan. Thanks, everyone, and I apologize for the sore throat. So thanks for your patience. Have a great day.